On this adventure, we'll be sailing from the top end of Lake St. Clair all the way down to Lake Erie and Putin Bay. This is the beginning of a full month of sailing around Lake Erie. Crewing with me for the first week of this adventure is one of my best friends, Tracy. She's been sailing with me for years and is always a source of energy wherever she goes. I had already been up for 24 hours pulling an all-nighter to get the boat ready for the trip. I was an excited zombie at best. The plan was to use my local knowledge of the shallow water and shoals of Anchor Bay to get us out to the open and deeper water of the shipping channel. Then once safely out onto the big road, Tracy would take the helm and I'd catch a good nap. Tracy and her husband Scott have a large, old, classic gymnasium of a powerboat I affectionately call the Valdez. For years they have docked it up and down the Detroit River like a couple of gypsies. With her expert knowledge of the river, I knew I'd be able to go below and catch some sleep. Tracy's one of the few people that I can leave unsupervised at the helm and feel comfortable. Except for a couple of short combat naps, the excitement of a full month of sailing unfamiliar waters wouldn't let me get any sleep. Lake St. Clair is a small inland sea of a lake on the Great Lakes chain between Lake Huron and Lake Erie. Then it's the seemingly endless 30 miles of Detroit River, all the way down to the top end of Lake Erie. This trek would take all day with the sun setting as we hit the Great Lake. With the help of a light breeze filling the foresail, a kick-ass sound system, and if you make your forehead sweat Bloody Marys, the day became magical. The live Ziggy Cam feed had the website full of virtual adventurers that were amazingly excited to be along for the trip. Battleships full of men fought to the death in these waters during the Revolutionary War. The British eventually conquered Detroit, taking it away from the French and occupying it for a short period of time until the Yanks came and kicked their ass. With the river separating Canada and the United States, it also has a colorful history during Prohibition. The bottom of the river is littered with old shipwrecks, cannons, and cases of whiskey thrown overboard during chases of Prohibition. Passing between Windsor on the Canadian side and Detroit on the American side, mindfully staying out of gun range, was a fantastic event. Now that you're paying attention, with the Ambassador Bridge coming up on the bow, Detroit looked like the magic city shining in the sun, fully concealing the gritty reality that lies within. With the sun getting low, Detroit far behind us, and my turn at the wheel coming up fast, I tried to catch a couple hours sleep before hitting the big lake. It was a futile effort at best. I was in that limbo zone where I was too tired to be awake, but too tired to go to sleep. While I tossed and turned down below, Tracy set us up for the slingshot high current ride through the downriver channel into Lake Erie. I found myself back up on deck, tracking down a suspicious petroleum smell. Once I decided it wasn't coming from my boat, I realized it was the smell of Lake Erie. Being accustomed to the cold, clean, pristine, crystal clear waters of Lake Huron, this caught me by surprise. The southerly wind was pushing the Toledo yuck up into the Detroit yuck, making for a massive field of yuck. But once we got out into the big lake and swung to the east, we sailed out. The Fermi 2 nuclear power plant was a welcome sight, marking the point where we could break into the open water again.
Yep. The Coast Guard came screaming by, too.
It had been a long day, and Tracy was worn out being at the wheel. As the sun was setting, I took over my turn at the wheel and my watch. Once out of the shipping channel, my plan was to swing east and throw up a sail into the gentle southern breeze. If all went well, we would be moored safely in Putin Bay by dawn. Just looking at my eyes, you can tell I was about a day past my bedtime. The whole adventure of crossing unfamiliar seas in the dark of night had me fired up. On the inside. The land disappeared right along with the sun as we entered into the alternate reality of night sail. Tracy shared one last cocktail with me, listened to a couple more tunes, and off to bed she went. Once comfortably out into the lake, I swung the nose to the east, and taking advantage of the southerly winds, I threw out both sails and for the first time in the trip was able to shut off the motor. It's at that moment when you can hear every little ripple in the water, every little puff of air, every little sound around you that was masked by that motor that you realize the magic that is sailing. I don't think there's anything more spiritual than being on a solo watch during a long night sail. With the sails trimmed perfectly, pulling us silently through the night, and the GPS telling the autopilot where to take us, the boat was completely on its own. At that point, I was nothing more than a passenger. I soon found myself with a coffee cup of my favorite port wine sitting on the bow, enjoying my happy place. After a while, I realized that all this tranquility was kicking my sleepless ass. I studied my sea charts, looking for a plan B. I found a small island to the north of us that we had passed a mile or two back. There were several small islands in the area, but this one had a backside that looked like we could get up into for shelter and anchor for the night. It was surrounded by submerged rocks and adventure-ending reefs. The next morning we were refreshed. After I grabbed a quick lake bath, we were back out on the water on autopilot enjoying the day. It wasn't until then that I realized that I'd illegally anchored in Canadian waters for the night. With the boat sailing itself, we settled into making a fantastic breakfast in the galley. After a great afternoon of sailing, South Bass Island came up over the horizon and our destination of Put-in Bay was coming close. During the War of 1812, U.S. Naval Commander Perry sailed out of Put-in Bay Port to fight a squadron of British warships. In 1813, we kicked the Brits' ass in what is now known as the Battle of Lake Erie. Put-in Bay is now a large tourist trap. It's one big party. Put-in Bay is known as the Key West of the North. In fact, every winter Key West has a Put-in Bay weekend for everyone to head down that way. The main attraction is the strip of bars, one bar after another, including many world-famous bars. There you'll find the longest bar in the world, the biggest pool bar, which is inside the pool. You sit at a bar stools in the water, and a seemingly endless row of rock and roll crazy-ass places. We eased up into the harbor and picked a mooring ball of our choice. Now there is nothing to do for the next few days but have fun.
How's that working out for you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's yours.
Down there real careful, like. Breakfast time on the Paragraph. Gotta have your fruit and veggies, stay healthy, no scurvy. No way.
Every morning started out with a Bloody Mary ritual. Then it was just the pirate lifestyle from there on out. We'll get into the party side of the island on episode 2. Until then, stay thirsty, my